I love conflict. I think that conflict for me is where truth is. I don't believe in my life. I never believe in nicey. There's always something that either the person's not saying or something. I like the conflict normally, more often than not, is where the truth comes forward.
Welcome to Voices of Esalen. I'm Sam Stern. Today my guest is a cornerstone of the Esalen community for more than 30 years, Josef London. In our conversation, Josef shares about the leap of faith that brought him to Esalen from Rio de Janeiro in the early 1990s, in search of healing, transformation, and a place to call home. Many guests know Josef from the gate as one of the first people they meet upon arriving at Esalen, but what they may not know is that Josef is steeped in the philosophy of Gestalt, that he is decidedly not conflict averse, but that at the same time, he believes fun is mandatory. Join us, please, for a heartfelt conversation with one of Esalen's most enduring and beloved figures, Josef London.
Josef, tell me, look, this is so nice to have you on Voices of Esalen. It's
so honored.
It's so great. I mean, you, out of all people who have given so many years of your life, how many years have you been at Esalen?
Been 33 years. I arrived in February 91. In 1985, 86, beginning of 86, a friend of mine who had been in this area for a while said, there's only one place for you in the world. It's called Esalen. Never heard of it.
Where were you living?
In Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And she said, that's a place to go because I know, she said, you're looking to change your life, ways to change your life. And also, I needed a gigantic amount of healing. Come from a very dysfunctional family.
Oh.
Gigantic, I mean, I didn't have much of awareness of that at that time. It's starting to having.
Are your parents Brazilian?
They are not Brazilian. They are immigrants. They came from Belarus. 1928, they moved to Brazil, and they have those group of people being, evacuated from Europe, all those things like that.
What caused them to move from Belarus to Brazil?
Well, there was a movement, the real estate industry would not sell any property to a Jew. And, some in the Polish side of the family, some families, Polish families were having a wedding celebration. And one of the ways to celebrate is to kill Jews during that celebration.
Whoa.
And some of their relatives were shot point blank on the property. What they did was small towns, small farms, they were just farmers. And they were pretty much not invited, they were evacuated for some money, and they said, I'll find a way for you to get out of here. So they have 5 options. Would be America, Canada, Australia, Argentina, and Brazil. Mm-hmm. And on each side of the family, I have 5 uncles and 1 aunt. So many of them decided to go to Brazil, the Poles and the Belarus people. Some of them ended up in Argentina thinking they were in Brazil.
Interesting.
And some of them arrived in Brazil thinking they were in Argentina. So some of them regretted for a long, long time. In general, it was completely different because the food, the people, etc. at that time, they found a way to adjust for that.
I would imagine there'd be some cultural differences.
Immense. No, so for you to know, born and raised in one of the second or largest, they're very proud of being the second or third largest Catholic country in the world. There's Rome, and there's Poland, and then there's Brazil.
Oh, wow.
Although the population is way bigger than those things. But they are very, and then, born and raised in a Jewish Catholic, environment. Guilt-ridden, all those things. I studied in Catholic schools. I studied catechism. I hope I was a kind of little bit of altar boy. I did a lot of those stuff.
But you have Jewish roots, but you were an altar boy?
Yes. Because at that time, they kind of didn't have much of an option. Or here, my brother before me, some of my neighbors in my town. My town is called Ouro Preto in a state called Minas Gerais. Minas Gerais is called General Mines. Most of the iron ore that goes to the world comes from my state. And we all, in my hometown, there's a huge, university, mining university. I studied mining in high school, and then the natural path will go to the school and be a mining engineer. Okay. My brother did that. I didn't. When I was at 18, my life, I said, I'm not going to do the mining thing, and our life. And then my parents were the whole entire family was breaking down, was just falling apart.
Okay.
And then I moved to Rio, and then start my life in a completely different way, going to finance, accounting, auditing.
Yeah.
Working for large corporations, auditing companies.
You worked for Coca-Cola, right?
I worked for Coca-Cola. I was a budget manager in their operation in the outskirts of Rio. They had a big factory there, and this plant in the outskirts of Rio, I was a budget manager there. Before that, I worked for British American Tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
At that time was the 5th largest volume in the world. And then after that, I became a consultant for small businesses and start taking courses, about something different. Astrology, astronomy, meditation, shiatsu, all those things.
Because you felt like you were missing something in your life?
Definitely. Good word. Yeah, exactly the word I used. Something was missing. I was looking for something I want to change, to start getting the awareness about I need to change this and I need to heal myself. I want to heal myself big time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, this friend of mine in Ipanema one day, on Saturday afternoon, 1986, he said, Joseph, there's only one place for you in the world. It's called Esalen in Big Sur, California. I said, never heard of it. She showed me some catalogs at that time. And I said, give yourself a chance. Go there for the weekend. Go there for the week. Go there be a work scholar for 1 month. If it doesn't work, you can always come back, to Brazil. What I did was I said, I'm going to make a leap of faith. So I divorced my ex-wife after 20 years of marriage in 1988. Then start looking for different jobs, opportunities, etc. I said, now I'm trying to do the same thing again. I'm not going to.
Right.
So I sold everything I had. I called Esalen. They said, you can come February 10th, 1991. So I packed 2 suitcases.
To be a work scholar?
Work scholar. Straight from Rio to Esalen.
Yeah.
To be a work scholar for 2 or 3 months at that time was possible. And the very day I arrived, I met my new wife.
Montgomery?
Montgomery, yeah. The first day I arrived. I'm a very lucky man. I fell in love 10 times in my life. And I know how it looks like, how it feels like. And as a man, don't mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the mouth shut.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. see what we have. And it was this thing with Montgomery. I just saw her and I fell in love with her immediately.
What did Montgomery look like that day?
She's a wild cat. She's a gorgeous, spectacular, sensational, fantastic, feisty woman. I am attracted to powerful, strong women and women who don't take a no for an answer. My feeling is Montgomery helped to design that concept. I don't know, you're too young, maybe you don't know that, but there was an actress called Ali MacGraw.
Mm-hmm.
And Montgomery looked pretty much like Ali MacGraw. One of her ex-boyfriends would call her Ali.
Oh, okay.
And I was a work scholar under Montgomery. She was a housekeeping department manager. And, I went outside after the meeting and said, God, honestly, I think the search is over. If this is going to work, I'm going to pursue.
You really felt like that, right away?
Totally, immensely, yeah, totally. And then process time, she's dating somebody, I left it alone, and then she said, I'm breaking up with somebody, and I'll be away for 6 months, I don't want to see anybody, so I mark on my financial agenda, March 91, September 91, I said, Montgomery, I want to have dinner with you.
Yeah?
She said, why do you want to have dinner with me? Montgomery was very quiet, very private. And then we have 3 dinners. And the way she was, everything was face value. Everything was, I take it what I see. Everything was pretty much.
That's the kind of person she was?
Oh, yeah. Big time. And then she said to me at the dinner, are we dating?
Where did you have dinners?
One here, one in the Pente, one in Ditchens, yeah. And they said, are we dating? Yes. Okay, if you want to date me, there are 3 things you need to know about me. So what are they? 1, I don't do family. You know that you're Brazilian, and my family is gigantic. In Rio, I have 130 relatives. Yeah. São Paulo, at that time, I had 29 relatives. Said, I don't want to meet those people. I want to meet you. Huh. If you want to meet my family, but I'm interested in meeting you.
Okay.
The other thing that I think that you like a lot, and I see you love kids. I have a passion for kids, and I always wanted to have, never had, but I borrow, like your kids, and some parents here give me the supreme honor privilege to share those treasures with me, and I think it's just an honor. And she said, I'm not going to have a kid. So, okay, fine. Do you still want to be with me? Yeah. What's number 2? I'm not going to have a kid. Yeah. Do you want me? Yeah. Still want to be with me? Yes. What's number 3? Number 3 is, our relationship will have to be process-oriented.
Yeah.
We're studying at that time Gestalt.
Was that your work scholar month?
No, one of them, two of them. But then there were visiting teachers. Montgomery and I were in class, Gestalt class, with the great teachers who were here as visiting teachers for free. Will Schutz and all those people just, and it just said our relationship is going to be process-oriented. If we need help, we're going to get somebody to mediate our challenges.
How did that sit with you?
Awesome. I said, yes, would you please let's do that? That's it. I don't know many people here, but whoever you choose, I'm totally, she was, we say, sitting with somebody. And the person said, well, and we sat with this person every week for an hour and a half. And then maybe 2 months down the line said, you guys are moving too fast. I don't have the skills that you're needing right now to help with your relationship. We need to get somebody who has more couples therapy skills, and somebody gave us a referral, God-sent child in Monterey. So we saw him every single week for 9.5 years.
Brilliant.
And for another 2.5 years, we saw him every other week. A year and a half, we saw him every month. And every time there was a trouble. After those 14 years,
There was something to talk about.
it was a healing thing. I don't have a formula. There's no formula. It's one day at a time, 1 minute at a time. It's very dynamic, and more so with somebody when I'm with somebody like Montgomery.
Who was a teacher that kind of blew your mind back in the early times?
First of all, arriving here, because I'm paying attention to that, and I wanted to grow and I wanted to learn as much as I can. I want to learn 1 or 2 or 3 things every day, But then Fritz Perls said, you're the master of your experience. Nobody knows you better than you do. And then Fritz Perls saying, if you don't bother people, you're not doing your homework. Okay? Meaning that the natural me is not going to be accepted to everybody, because that's impossible. That's why I love conflict, because I think that's where the truth is. Not everybody's on board with that, but that's what I like. And then you say, if you're not bothering people, you're not doing your homework, means, in my opinion, be who I am. I had the freedom, invitation, support to first time to be. I'm going to be who I am.
Did you engage in a lot of Gestalt, like the group Gestalt practice?
Many of them. I took maybe 75 workshops at Esalen.
Yeah.
And I took maybe 40-something on Gestalt. So I had the supreme honor, a privilege, to have 1 month Gestalt training with Chris Price. 16 hours a week. And one weekend were called intensive. With Julian Silverman. Will Schutz here teaching. So all those people, they impacted me.
How did they impact you? So you were looking to change your life in some ways. What was the trajectory of your personal journey?
Well, a couple things. One is based on that oral tradition. I said, well, I have not the right, but I have the opportunity to be in a place that is safe and healthy for me to be who I am, and I'm going to play that edge. But it's a practice. But Gestalt demands a practice, demands a discipline. Now, if I'm here in the place that I can be who I am, and I can hopefully talk to somebody who can accept me the way I am going to use that.
What does it mean to you to be witnessed in a group? Was that new or novel for you?
Was a bit, always, since a kid, I always said my piece. I have always, since I was 4 or 5, they had a small business. I was running the business age 5 to 17. So I had no problems, saying my piece.
Okay.
So I always had that. And, that in this situation, in a group environment, one is I would say my piece. 2, the richness of the format of group, then about how much can I learn with the other person's experience and how that person handled that thing, sometimes verbatim, exactly what I went through. Oh, that's the way you handle it. I'm learning right now. Over time, I learned how to do open seats. I went to, I don't know how many open seats. And I did open seats for 4 years for staff, for only 15 years for everybody. I did open seats for 19 years.
You facilitated them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in a part of the movement class or whatever. So the richness of that experience based on everybody's contribution, which is a very basic, fundamental, one of the fundamental definitions of Gestalt. What I give is what I get. My contribution is going to make it the whole thing bigger, and I'm part of it, and I'm contributing to it. The richness of the whole thing, also seeing people coming through, being a housekeeping department manager for 20 years. I had almost 3,000 work scholars coming through the department when I was running it. So every month we have 2 tracks. So I watched, pretty much 26 tracks every year for 20 years. They arrive on changeover Sunday, okay? Monday we have the training. Tuesday morning was always cabins process. Tuesday afternoon, I could see the difference in their face. I could see the transformation.
After they went through process?
Totally. And even before that, the introduction that we did. At that time, we had what we call department process. So all employees would be in a meeting with a facilitator who'd be, neutral, who'd be, available to everything in the department to be addressed. Whatever they'll say and do in that environment would not jeopardize their job, would not jeopardize their position, their salary, nothing like that.
Sure.
And I always said to all my people for 20 years, every Tuesday morning, anything you say here, won't jeopardize what you're doing. We have a facilitator here. I always put together, as much as I could, 3 months with Doherty, 3 months with Perry Holloman. They were the main facilitators, alternating every 3. And then process is about people saying their piece. And then many of us come from a family environment that was not we supported, there was no invitation, it was not safe to say things in the moment. So some of them were, like myself, I was stuffing it for a long, long time. And that will come out, and I said to them, confront me.
I'm sure you got confronted.
Of course, confronted me.
Yeah.
Confront me. Nothing you're going to say and do is going to jeopardize your time here. Yeah. Now, we didn't reason. Just throwing rocks, etc., etc. There's a facilitator here to take care of that.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that you would confront me. What is it that you see that I'm not doing well? What is it that you think that could be? I'm totally open to that. And many of them did big time. And I learned a lot from that. And everybody in the group also, they came to me and said, we learned a lot from this. That's the goal.
Oh, it sounds like a beautiful experience.
Again, I'm using this thing the second time now. It's a richness beyond measure, to see that.
Well, yeah, you kind of occupy an interesting position at Esalen because people come here as adults, come here for personal transformation and to shake things up in their lives. They don't necessarily come here to put their nose to the grindstone. Like the work is secondary, but you're coming in with sort of like an industrious point of view, perhaps passed down from the parents who had so much trauma, bringing it from Eastern Europe.
Yeah, it must,
So
Catholic school, we have.
You're like the superego of Esalen.
Totally, I was named that several times.
Really?
Oh yeah, Superego and the other names that I'll remember in a minute. Yeah.
So now a lot of people know you as from the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the person who, when people come down the hill, they see first. How do you balance being welcoming but firm?
Well, it works. Yes, that's a good question. I would say to you that in general, 99% of people, they abide by whatever we need to do. They understand the thing. They wanted to help, and they have in mind the contribution that they can offer if they just learn how the place works and use that in a beneficial way. And then not to disturb anything and give some contribution. But there's 1% of that population, that they understand, they have a sense of entitlement, in my opinion.
Or maybe they have a rebellious streak. Maybe they come up against you and it ignites something rebellious in
many
them.
people it was classic because when I was doing housekeeping department manager, I was doing housekeeping for 20 years as a manager. It was very noticeable. Somebody was about to leave, 1 week from now, finish their contract, they'll come to my office and let me have it. Say everything that they wanted to tell me. And
You're smiling. You loved it.
I loved it because they said, look, I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to explain myself to this person. I just want to, okay, so tell me more about your experience. So is there anything that would you like me to correct that I can, assist you in? Because I don't want to change your experience. You're angry, fine. You're angry, pissed, etc.
See, when you talk, it does resonate with me, this interest that you have in Fritz Perls, because Fritz was never conflict averse.
Never.
And invited it, right? To see,
Yeah.
and Will Schutz being the same way.
The same way. Will Schutz came to be a visiting teacher for 3 months. And he had this very famous, very successful company, I believe called 1-800 Consulting. He wrote, the Joy. And he was here kind of thinking of rewriting a little bit of that. This is beginning of the 90s, and 97, 98. And he was very connected to Montgomery. She liked Montgomery a lot. Montgomery loved him about everything. And he did those tables for us to do our homework. And because he was not offering sessions to anybody.
Okay.
Montgomery went to him and said, could you do as a session? Because this is, now 2, 3, 4 years down in our marriage. So of course I'll do it. And so here are the tables.
Wow.
So Will Schutz offered us a private session as a facilitator, as a mediator of our thing. Such an honor.
Very cool.
Price House was the place where the visiting teacher would stay, and the meeting room was where we had the sessions, where they had the meetings, and he offered that And Will Schutz came to me. We had a session mid-afternoon. So lunchtime, he came to me. He called me and said, come here. What? I just wanted to tell you, I can't stand you. Wow. I don't like you.
Wow.
So I'm going to do this session because I love Montgomery.
My God.
So I want to make sure that it's more than anything for her, But if you can have any benefit about that, you should say classic, very,
God, what did you say?
I said, well, thank you so much for allowing us to come to your thing. I read your studying your system, etc., and I hope it's going to be hopeful. But thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for letting me know where you're coming from.
Okay,
fine. So then we're in the session, and
did he tell you? Sorry, did he tell you why? He's like,
no, he just said, I just don't like it. And then after the session, two things happen very, very interesting. He doesn't have a watch, doesn't have anything. Okay. But those guys are professional.
Yeah.
So 54 minutes down the line, he stood up and said, what's for dinner? I was about to say something very important. He said, what's for dinner? That was the end of the session. I stood up and he came to me and said, I'm learning how to.
Yeah, I would imagine. That's wild.
It's a very classic thing, that's, in my opinion, no, I wouldn't say vintage.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know him so well. But we're very straight to the point, etc. Like when I was applying for Gazebo,
Gazebo is the children's
children.
School.
Yeah, the founder,
Janet Letterman.
Yeah, Letterman. So I had an interview with her. I said, look, I want to be with Truth. Why in the world did you think that you can be in my place at in a Gazebo school? And why do you think that you belong there? That is the question that you can ask, politely, kind of an interview, job interview. But she was questioning my everything, my integrity, my presence, my everything. And I talked to her about how much I love kids, which I do. It's true. I love kids. I want to make sure I make a balance. And I also told her, look, there's a part of my childhood that is gone. I want to find a way for me to be with kids the age that I know that thing is gone, for me to see if I can rebuild that within myself.
Yeah.
That's one of the risks. You're in.
She said you're in?
She said you're in. So you have a contract.
And you went and did it?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know you ever worked at Gazebo.
I did Gazebo there for 6 months. And I about to renew the whole thing. The manager there at that time, little you know me, I was confronting him a little bit about managerial things he was doing. And he did not renew my thing. Then I became what we call a space mate.
Yeah.
Married to Montgomery. I had to do 24 hours of community service every week to belong.
That's nothing for you. You could accomplish that in a couple of days.
No, I did 40. I work in maintenance more than anything, kitchen more than anything, a little bit of office and farm and garden and grounds. I did all those things, but primarily was kitchen and primarily maintenance and then kitchen.
But the whole crustiness of the attitudes of what you just described from Will Schutz and Janet Letterman, that is something that has changed at Esalen across the years.
Completely.
I think there was an ideology from 70s, 80s. It seems like it leaked into the 90s somewhat of like, you're in charge of your feelings.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just say whatever the hell I want.
Yes.
And, you're in charge of how you take it.
Totally. I agree with you. Yeah. Another thing is there was a kind of was a rite of passage.
Oh, yeah?
To say that to anybody's face.
Yeah.
And Will Schutz, and then you have other teachers here doing groups that encounter groups, etc. That was a kind of a say your piece, but there was no space for integration. There was no space for just about I'm saying my piece because I'm studying Gestalt or whatever they were studying. And there was almost a kind of obligation to say things to people to their face. But in my opinion, most of them, the vast majority, not owning anything what they were doing. They were not owning the aggressiveness, the abusiveness of the whole thing. Because I'm studying Gestalt. Here's my piece to you. No, just a second. Can we talk? Can we sit down? No, there was not an option.
Do you still have the opportunity here at Esalen to put on a different persona at times than the gate guard?
Yeah, well, what I do is I think that fun is mandatory. Fun is mandatory for me. The best of my ability. I always have fun and I'm not connected to all 100-something staff people here, but some of them I am. And sometimes nothing needs to be said. Sheer company makes it. A lot of the time, there's nothing to say to do. It's just to be.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be too philosophical about that, but I'm saying that it was possible. And here I use it the same thing.
I've seen you having fun many times, like passing out limoncello.
All those things.
Shots.
The celebration of my birth is coming soon in February. I do all the time. Been doing for 32 years now. Beer, kegs of beer, and hard barn, but it became too big. I shrank a little bit. We shrank also after 2017. So, but I am a party animal.
Yeah, you are Brazilian.
I am Brazilian. I like dancing. I like good humor. I like good company, good coffee. I love good coffee and good wine and good meal. And there's places in Brazil and also here. I found some places that I can have a dinner for an hour and a half. And also, I like to get out of Esalen every Friday.
What do you do?
Swimming. I can play golf. I can do things in a way that change my mindset, but also mandatory to have fun.
Let me ask you about grieving. And when Montgomery passed, how did you deal with it, and how did the community help you grieve your wife's loss?
It's beyond words. It's beyond words. It's beyond many. I get tearful about that. Same thing. I get tearful when I talk about my gratitude to Esalen. There's have an amazing life, ups and downs, abuse, whatever. I have nothing in my life to compare to my 33 years here. I don't. One day is going to be over. I don't think I'm going to be here for another 33 years. I will go with a gigantic basket of gratitude. Michael Murphy comes here from time to time. I hug him, I kiss him, and I cry. One time he said, you have to stop that. I can't. It's bigger than I am. If you don't take it, I won't do it. But it's just the way I feel. And I'll feel this way, I believe, for the rest of my life. Nobody can take that away. Montgomery's passing is the biggest, largest loss in my life. It's being with that woman, feisty, spectacular, sensational, beautiful, gorgeous. And, she wakes up, goes to the bathroom, and fall on the floor, heart attack, massive, dead. So I called the gate, do the whole thing, etc. And I called Big Sur Fire. I said, could you delay the coroner? Could you delay, because I want to keep her in the room until at least 4 o'clock. And I invited everybody to come to the yurt to say goodbye to her, whoever wanted. So, post-traumatic stress disorder for 4, 5, 6 years. From time to time, those things come back to me like it was 2 minutes ago. But the support that I had from the villagers, it's beyond words. They had a Joseph's dance card that they put on my door with names. Every hour from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., somebody will come and check with me. Are you okay? Do you want food? Do you want me? And I couldn't eat, only drinking just soup. They started having their dinners on the deck in my yurt. And then there was a time, 2 or 3 weeks later, I was able to move to the lodge. And I was sitting, there was a place called Solarium, sitting in one of those corners with somebody, one of them. And there were 3 of them, 4 of them in front of my table, like bodyguards. We want to talk. No, you don't want to talk to them. Leave him alone. And they walk me home. They bring me back. And I was working from home, payroll, all those things, etc. But I was not. So it's a support that it's forever. I have the desk card. 14 years later, 13 years later, I still have it, And memories about people sitting with me, talking to me. Do you want me to spend the night here at the yurt? Start eating, and it lasted close to 6 months. It lasted forever, because from time to time people come to me, but that regimented, and say, that dedication, that loyalty and commitment to help me, it was presence pretty much for 4 or 6 months, no problem. This is the biggest loss I've ever had in my life, but I think that, in my opinion, nobody can do this alone. Nobody can. Another thing that helped me a lot was the grief system. As a 9-step grief system that I still use it from time to time. Have copies in my pocket, in my car, in my bathroom, in my office, etc. From time to time, it comes back to me. And I gave that to some people, some friend of mine who had major losses. So it's beyond words, And some people the other day, 2 ladies came back from that and said, I can't talk about that. I cannot talk about that. Because she remembers everything, what happened, coming to the gate, because it was that impactful. In July, they celebrate, because every July I go to town, I do a pilgrimage on property and where the ashes are. Yeah. And then I go to town, go where the ashes are, where we used to play golf, where we used to 2 restaurants, our favorite restaurants. Mm-hmm. And I play not a tribute, a homage to Montgomery, to Montgomery's presence in my life. Yeah.
As someone who's witnessed kind of the evolution of Esalen for decades, do you have a vision for the future?
The future is that it's getting, one is I'm noticing every time at the gate, somebody's leaving and said, hi, how was your experience? Did you like it? Yes or no? What did they tell me? It's still working for 90% of people leaving the gate. Yeah. Another thing is very important that I think, God bless everybody, do respect everybody, is a younger generation. Many younger people coming here for the first time. And they have been having a good time.
It's really hard not to. After all these years, do you believe humans have limitless potential, or have you observed some limitations?
In my belief system, being Brazilian, everybody is a healer. Everybody is psychic. So I believe that some people are more trained than others. Mm-hmm. If the person is working in a coal mine, the reference and the priority are different. But I truly believe that given the right environment, safe, healthy environment, I truly believe that anybody could learn something that could make a difference. I also believe that when it's true for me, and many people have shared that with me also for 33 years, once I made the decision to come to Esalen, I lost half of my friends because the communication, the thing is going to be different. And it's very rare I can find somebody I can talk the way I talk here outside of here, no matter where I go. So I imagine it's going to be those people, whoever comes, they're going to be a little bit selective in a good way to find out who they can talk to, share their experience with, and inspire and invite them and bring them back here for them to have similar experience that they are the only ones who can design and define.
What advice would you give to newcomers at Esalen to help them fully engage with and benefit from this place?
All the time, because sometimes they come to the gate. Yeah. Oh, you were so welcome, and I want to talk to you. I say, look, I can explain Esalen to you. I cannot. It's what you make of it. I always say that. It's what you make of it. It doesn't work for everybody. Mm-hmm. So see, now you have the intention. You came here now, your first time. So see what catches your attention. What's talking to your heart. And whatever the criteria that you have of things that work for you, see if you can find them here, refine them, find or refine them, put them in place, because that is what's going to, there's nothing much to say.
What's your favorite place on property?
Oh, there are so many. Of course, the bath is always a high point. But one thing I like is leaving Leonardo Pavilion and going to the farm, that area there. Because I go there almost every other week, and when I turn around and I look south, there's a classic South Coast, Big Sur coastal line. I love that. The other one is the deck by Fritz, the temporary bath. That is spectacular, and that is sensational. Also, north of the pool, and that corner, I love that corner, facing the bath, also facing the I love those areas. Yeah.
Oh, great! You picked some good ones. Well, Josef, man, it's been great to have you doing Voices of Esalen.
My pleasure, my pleasure, my honor. It's such a privilege, in my opinion. It's a privilege and an honor to be invited by you, to be part of Esalen, to live at Esalen, to be an employee at Esalen. It's just, for me, it's an honor. It's a privilege. Some people see the wrong way, a different way. It's their thing, but for me, it's an honor. Yeah, thank you. God bless you too.
Thanks so much for listening to Voices of Esalen. Today's show is produced in conjunction with Shira Levine. Our theme was composed by Nico Holloman. Additional music by Blue Dot Sessions. Until next time, be well.